Okay, I have this box here that we received today. Let's see if I'm on. So, looks like I'm on. Maybe I should hold it up again. Okay, let me show it one more time. That's it's called the Valhalla Project, and it was started in 2017. And I don't know if you can read that. Yes, where heroes live on forever. So it was pretty emotional. Beautiful memorial for Richard from a veterans group. We're at 1,700 and what was it? 32 days, 1,732 days. And so we really appreciate it because this battle absolutely has to be won. This battle against criminal leadership, criminal cartel tied, treasonous, working for the enemies, and working for the enemies against our soldiers. You understand what Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and others did was work against our volunteer sons and daughters, our Constitution, our military base, our country. It was absolutely treasonous, and he needs to be held to the highest form of punishment for what he did. And, we're not shooting from the hip. We're not quick to point our finger. We're at 1,732 days since Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss in the line of duty for being a whistleblower, which is for Fort Bliss, it's very rare. It's very rare and it's very difficult to be a whistleblower because the leadership there, the criminal leadership, is handpicked for Fort Bliss, the front door of the United States, the really the epicenter of criminal trafficking. It's really the epicenter of criminal trafficking, and that's why you see um, Secretary of Defense Hegseth going there again. And their eyes are on Fort Bliss. It doesn't get talked about a lot because the problem is so big and is really a PR nightmare for our military, for our national defense, for our national security. It's a PR nightmare. And it's left for we, the people, to spread the word, to um, back up our president now, um, and drive him to fix the problem. And, you can say, and what I'm hoping is that he absolutely is willing and wanting to solve the problem. And he has showed, huge, huge steps like no other president has. Uh, that proves, that confirms that he is willing and wanting to change the problem, to fix the problem, to strengthen our military. That's very, very clear with what has happened in the last 100 days. It's very, very clear. What he did on day one was very, very clear. So, who do we have to drive? I think we have to drive our politicians because clearly, clearly, Representative Veronica Escobar was, well, we know she's cartel tied. She's up to no good. She brought in a unqualified medical examiner who handled the victims of even the Walmart mass shooting case illegally, and there's been tampering with the death certificates. Um, uh, you know, yeah, y- we think sometimes, you get paid $430,000, you're going to do things by the book. Sorry, he hasn't. He hasn't. And he's illegal. He's illegally in this country. She um, fraudulently filled out paperwork to get him into this country, to get him in that position. She is very, very guilty of that. And so so not only is the chief medical examiner unqualified and illegally in the country and is a huge problem because he uh, goes to all these capital murder cases. Anytime there's a capital murder or capital case, a death, he will be the one that testifies in the court for the cause and manner of death. It's huge. It's a huge, huge responsibility. And someone unauthorized, someone that's illegally in our country, is doing that job. It's despicable and getting paid taxpayer funds um, over $430,000 a year. So for El Paso, that's huge, huge money, huge. Um, and then, of course, she is the one that has disenfranchised her constituents from the right to vote for judges who sit on the criminal law magistrate court there in El Paso, a very, very powerful court because it has county-wide jurisdiction. But the thing is, I didn't know, and you lived in Texas for years and years, um, is that, there is a difference between a county-wide jurisdictional court and then a partial jurisdiction. And if you're just a small partial jurisdiction in a county, then you can be appointed as a judge. But if you are wanting to sit on a court that has a power for full jurisdiction of that entire county, the Texas Constitution protects the people of Texas and says, hold on, not so quick. You can't just be appointed. You have to tell the people why you are the best person to be a judge to sit on that court. And they need to vote for you. They need to vote for you. And you need to be scrutinized because this is a very powerful court. Um, well, not one judge on the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court is elected. Not one of them. Not one. It is, and that court received full countywide jurisdiction in 2015, and the people of El Paso County have been disenfranchised since 2015 from their right to vote for for very important servants in the government, and that is judges, judges that have power over the entire jurisdiction, over the entire county. These cases, and you know what? It was Penny Hamilton, one of these imposters that magistrated Patrick Crucius Mayella. I call him Patrick Crucius Mayella because that's his family, is Mayella, right? So, yeah, Penny Hamilton is the one that sealed the case. Penny Hamilton is up to no good. And the whole case from the minute that he was magistrated by Penny Hamilton, the entire case was botched. And all that money, all millions and millions of taxpayer money, that was all botched. It was all botched right from the very beginning. And now with more and more witnesses, releasing because the state case has now been closed, more and more uh, information is coming out because it was sealed, right? It was sealed, and now more and more information is coming out about the multiple shooters, the witness testimonies for the um, uh, multiple shooters, the censored evidence, videos, um, what do you call the radio chatter and everything like that, that shows that there were multiple shooters. And of course, we know that with Glennon Oakley Jr. and his information that he gave on that day, August 3rd, 2019, was also censored. But there's still, many, many witnesses that saw multiple shooters. And, forensics is going to come out. It's going to be interesting if there's two different types of bullets, what kind of the trajectory of the bullets, where it came from and everything, what kind of weapon it came from. Um, that's all going to come out. And so some of these expert witnesses, quote unquote expert witnesses, um, it's even though Patrick Crusius waived his right for appeal, there's other things going on behind the scenes because of the amount of botchery and fraud and censorship of the case, and the case never going to trial, and Patrick Crusius not getting a a competency hearing from an independent judge, which is required by law. All of these, the Mayellas being involved in the case, in the DA's case, in the FBI, in the Walmart security, cybersecurity, in the federal courthouse, the conflicts of interest, even in the mental health realm, where the Mayellas were involved. So, the absolute lies by Joe Open Checkbook Spencer, is, going to be all scrutinized. The um, Judge Sam Madrano agreeing to this plea deal, letting it go forward without any evidence being presented at all. None, zero, nil. He is just such, it is just, you can't make this stuff up, right? You can't make this stuff up. He is the most corrupt judge in El Paso. Um, and he was, to also just give you a few other little pieces, he sits on the Council of Judges that absolutely disenfranchised uh, El Paso, uh, El Pasoans' right to vote because it's Judge Samaniago, of course, Representative Veronica Escobar when she was the county judge, and the likes of as Judge Sam Madrano that approved, that appointed these imposters to the criminal law magistrate court. So, as the law enforcement community, as the criminal justice system, community start realizing the absolute breaches in ethics and in the uh, in their rules of conduct. You're going to have, and we already have feedback. That's why we know that there is multiple shooters. Even coming out of Austin, they agree it's multiple shooters because of the headshots, of course. I was talking about the headshots yesterday. No way, it's just no way. And one clip of bullets, 30 bullets couldn't do it, especially when you have the witness that I posted yesterday saying that there were missed shots. And so there were missed shots, there were headshots that were absolutely lethal. That comes from, like a sniper, a military trained person, because a regular person, and you look at these active shooter cases, they don't aim for the head because they just don't have the stomach unless they are, and that's another point too. Where's the puke? Most of these individuals puke. And we heard from Joe Open Checkbook Spencer, who, all he was for was his personal gain. That Patrick Crucius was, he had to leave because of all the blood, but, he didn't even have any blood on him. There was nothing. His clothes were clean, his shoes were clean, and you have the likes of Ernest Christopher Grant telling stories at the beginning that were just, I mean, heart wrenching. You wanted to tear your clothes because of what he was saying was so, I don't know. I don't know. I just can't even hear that kind of stuff. It's like, wow, this must be like a demon. And that's what he was trying to portray as Patrick Crucius as a demon. But the real shooters are demons, right? The real shooters are demons. And we know that Patrick Crucius, Joe Spencer, when he went to go visit Patrick Crucius on the 5th of August, okay? He went to go visit him in the jail on the 5th of August. Think about that, okay? That he was really early in this case. Um, said that he couldn't fathom what had been done, that he only believed he killed one or two. Well, that's enough for the death penalty, right? That's enough for the death penalty. And where is James Montoya? But the other shooters would have to be revealed, right? The other shooters, that there are multiple shooters, would have to be revealed, and the evidence reveals it. And that's why they sealed the case. That's why they sealed the case. And how is this all connected to Richard? Well, the same individuals that orchestrated this mass murder of so many individuals, um, are involved in the murder case of our son. And, there's no splitting the two up at all. They are totally intertwined so tight you can't unknot them. You can't separate them. So they are absolutely together. And so that's why we'll see this going forward, to reveal the multiple shooters and all the evidence that proves, and the victims will get justice without James Montoya, without Joe Spencer, without Judge Sam Madrano, without Jaime Esparza, without Bill Hicks, without Felix Valenzuela, without Mark Stevens, and without Judge Guadarrama, without them, you know, the truth will come out, and the victims that suffered and their families. The victims that died, the victims that suffered, the victims' families, they will definitely get justice. I'm really confident in that from whom we're talking to. And of course, today, getting the honor of the Valhalla group coming, and presenting to us several things. It wasn't just the plaque. And that was really uh, indicative of the move forward here with the veterans groups, with the Secretary of Justice, well, the Attorney General, right? The Attorney General, and the FBI, and all of what it takes to get justice in cases like this. And I think, yeah, because the thing that everyone has to understand why we are so confident and why we are in communication with all these people is because the Walmart mass shooting, its narrative was an attack on President Trump, on President Trump's administration, um, a weaponization of a false narrative to affect the 2020 election. And as you know, the 2020 election is up for debate with President Trump's. Well, it's not even up for debate President Trump's administration. He absolutely feels that he won that election, that he has enough proof, and part of that proof that we know is going to be how the narrative was weaponized, and a false narrative was weaponized to affect an election. But there's probably all kinds of other evidence that he's going to use, but it just, President Trump doesn't. Just sweep things under the rug. And the death of 23 individuals, the injuring of 22 individuals, and then a false narrative to blame him for that, with their false narrative. They were going after him more than Patrick Crucius, right? They were going after him more than the additional shooters. That is so obvious that you take 5 minutes to do some kind of little forensic glance at this case, and you absolutely know that the facts really, you know, debunk the false narrative that they used against President Trump, that it debunks the lone shooter. It debunks that Patrick Crucius just randomly picked El Paso. It just debunks everything when you just take a little time to look at the evidence. And this is a very, very big case because it did affect the election. And many people believe the false narrative that was given out there. And that's why day in and day out, we will tell you the first target in all of this was President Trump and the 2020 election. And Beto O'Rourke, that's why Beto O'Rourke was there right away. And they already had their slogan, El Paso Strong, didn't they? They already had their slogan. Um, and Christopher Grant, 2 shots with an AK-47 type weapon with Russian bullets that just tear you apart. My husband is a PA, and he is doing like PR stunts right after that, and in the hospital with Beto O'Rourke, with his the police officer that somehow drove him all by himself in the back of a truck with 2 shots to the gut. My husband's like, I don't think, and being dragged from the front of the store all the way through El Paso, through Walmart, to the car section where his angel, um, oh, what's her name? Donna Sifford, apparently patched him up enough that he could go and ride in the back of a truck. The whole story is absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And uh, from the Mayellas to Patrick Crucius's autism and severe mental health condition to the number of bullets he had in the magazine. It could hold 30, but how many did he really have, right? And so that in itself says there were more than one shooter. And then, so multiple shooters, let's just say multiple shooters. And then you have, of course, Glennon Oakley Jr., and then multiple witnesses. Um, and we have been collecting that for a long time. So then we have other breaking news. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. We were given confirmation today. It's been a busy day. Confirmation today because we've been writing people and um, getting all kinds of information, and then also being honored with this plaque from Valhalla group. Sorry. And then we get confirmation today that Eric Dwayne Johnson, who has a very personal relationship with not only Kyla Cardona, but also with Leilani Hart. And Kyla Cardona has a personal relationship with a connection with Leilani Hart. The three of them have a huge connection. And so, through all of the information that we're getting, it has been confirmed that Eric Johnson, who is a veteran, um, also CBP, also has a security clearance, an active security clearance, was announcing and announcing to about 40 people that he loves crack cocaine, that he loves crack cocaine. Uh, you know, so this is very, very concerning because Kyla is the assistant to Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe at that time, and her husband, of course, serving in the JAG office as the NCOIC paralegal, who have all kinds of access to all kinds of cases and all kinds of information, um, and um, and we know where he is now, um, and so to have Leilani Hart, to have someone that uh, you know eh, likes cocaine, um, and you know having a illegal kind of relationship uh, so close to the top leadership commanding general of Fort Bliss, and then the commander of Fort Bliss ordering the obstruction and the interference and the murder investigation of Richard Halliday. Then everything starts making sense, why he's so compromised, why he is committing treason, and why he's giving the orders like he is because of him being compromised. Um, and, you know, uh, Profiting from personal gain? That's a question that needs to be asked. When I asked, did you look at their bank accounts during the 15-6? They just all panicked. They were all panicking. I'm like, well, what did their bank accounts say? Look at their bank accounts, because the whole point of the 15-6 was the extortion for cash, right? Was the extortion for money of our soldiers. And I'm like, well, what did the bank accounts say? And they're just all panicking. They're absolutely compromised. And, um, you know, so they didn't want another Vanessa Guillen, meaning they didn't want to be held accountable for their crimes. And they absolutely have committed um, betrayal of the worst type, against our country, against our countrymen, um, against, for international, against all these children, right? International um, betrayal. You're supposed to treat people the way you want to be treated, countries the way you want your country to be treated. Treat your soldiers like you would want to treat other soldiers. It's, when you're in peacetime, when you're on your own base, when you're, at the border, we're talking about a border base. It's right there with Mexico. So there, you need to have um, eh, your politics right. Politics is not the right word. Um, what do I want to say? Diplomacy. You want to have your diplomacy right. Um, but also you want to be steadfast in the defense of your country, right? And your countrymen, because to protect the Constitution is to protect the land and the people. And, that was the charge that was given to Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, and he betrayed it in a very, very big way. In a very big way. It is so big way. Makes the Iran Contra look like child's play. And so the truth is, we have the truth, it's coming out. And we're putting it out there, for those that have eyes that can see, for those that have ears that want to hear. Um, and we hope that you will share it, that you will share this information, that you will do your own research, that you will post it, that you will absolutely join us and getting to the truth. And because the media is not going to give it to you, we have been giving the media all of this. El Paso has a botched chief medical examiner, a botched criminal law magistrate court, a botched DA. They don't even have a prosecutor there right now. A botched federal courthouse. Um, it's and a botched Fort Bliss. Fort Bliss is absolutely compromised. The leadership is compromised. And I think that's why Secretary of Defense Hegseth goes there and is in communication. He has to clean that mess up. Um, and so when we see some arrests, then we'll know that they are serious. And there absolutely needs to be arrests, because you cannot have a crack lover having access to the headquarters there, to Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe's, or the command of Fort Bliss, and have the conflicts of interest with convicted criminal Leilani Hart. Remember, she is a major convicted criminal. Um, that is up to no good. That is one of the prime suspects in the murder case of Richard Halliday. So this is huge. And of course, for having Kayla right there, Kayla having the conflict of interest with her own husband there at the JAG office as a paralegal. So, there you can see, and once all this truth comes out, and we're showing it to you, if you have eyes you can see, you're going to have to look some things up. You're going to have to really share and communicate with people, because that's how you'll learn all this information. And as we are able to share, we absolutely will. But go back and look at all the connections, because that's really coming into play again, with Leilani and Kayla and Eric Johnson, and substance abuse, and the trafficking, and Sean Bernabe. Sean Bernabe, who is really responsible. So we're putting that all together for our lawsuit. The lawsuit should be filed soon. It's going to be filed soon. And it's just so much, right? It's just so much. So we just want to say thank you to everybody, and we will be back. Please share, 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 and we will be back tomorrow. And thank you for your love and your